Okay, the shop is pretty clean today, and it made me think that actually it was a good time to maybe share some shop details. And I thought I'd start with electrical. This is sort of my electrical corner of the shop, and I've got 15 2 wire, 15 3 wire, and some 12 2 wire, along with other, assorted scraps, etc. And then I've got a whole assortment of electrical boxes and, back stock of various common use items, GFC outlets, some other outlets, overflow of, wire nuts, pulling cable, etc. I've also got another sort of box of additional boxes down there that I got at an estate sale. They're not sort of core stock, but I do keep them. Um, but what I wanted to show you was actually this setup, because this setup of my electrical toolkit has evolved over time, and it's worked out to be pretty great. So let me pull this over to the workbench and show you what I got here. Okay. And let me just get this out of the way, though. Actually, uh, that's a common use electrical tool there. Right there. So let's zoom out here. So you have flip back over. No, that's wrong. Okay, I'll just do this. Okay, we're zooming out here. Okay, cool. So this kit has evolved over time. It's turned out to be pretty great for me. I've essentially rewired my whole house, and this is the kit that I use. And fundamentally, it's a four-sided box that has particular uses on each side of the box. So on this side are the core things. Linesman's pliers or Linespersons pliers. This is the sort of heavy workhorse for everyday twisting wires, cutting wires, etc. But I also keep some side cutters or diagonal cutters, and these are actually great for prying out staples if you need to, or for reaching in and getting in close to snip things that are in close. You can also see that I have a marking here of 6 inches, and that's from this marking to the end of the handle, and that's as a guide for how far wires should come out of a box or from the back of a box, and that'll vary based on code in your area. For my linesman pliers, I happen to know that actually from this spot to the bottom of the handle is that measurement. Um, this is a utility knife. I actually have settled on this brand of Stanley. I quite like it. The handle opens up and you can store multiple additional blades in there. It's not the kind of tool you can really hammer on and use for really heavy work, but it works pretty well, and I like the extra blade storage. Tick tester. This is obviously a very useful tool. Also makes a great gift for any new homeowner. It's a $15 item you can get someone, and it'll stay in their toolkit and serve them well. I used to carry 2 Klein screwdrivers, a Phillips and a regular, and then I switched over actually to this Klein multi screwdriver, and that was an improvement. But this one here is an improvement still. So I actually don't like how long this is and how heavy it is, but it has a wire nut twister in the handle, and I quite like that. As I get older, I'm finding that twisting things with my fingers, I get a little neuropathy in my fingers, and using this as a twister can really help. It is ratcheted too, which is nice. And then, of course, this screwdriver is ratcheted too, which is a nice time saver. And then lastly, wire strippers. I've used a whole wide variety of fancy wire strippers, but I keep coming back to the basics here. And these are great. This is just a cheap brand. I've sort of a lot of times I'll give tools away to friends that don't have them, and then I'll just run and pick up a replacement myself. And this is a good example. Somebody didn't have wire strippers. So that's this side, and that's the side that sort of faces me as I do my work most days. I think it's also worth looking right inside the kit right now from this side. And there's a few things. One, I keep an inspection mirror in here. Hello. And that's just really handy to stick inside a wall and through an outlet hole and see whether there's anything in there that's going to give me a surprise. I like a real hammer to hammer in staples, and I like having a fish tape with me. I hope I never have to use it or can avoid using it, but I like to keep it in here just in case. I do also carry a multimeter for checking voltage on wires and things. And again, I'm not a pro of how to use that, but it does come in handy. I almost always keep an extra switch in here and also an extra outlet. I tend to buy really good outlets. This is an Eaton Pro level outlet. You know, like to buy a really good one is $2 more or something per outlet, or $1 more per outlet than to buy a cheap one. But what I really like is the ability to backwire these, but you screw down the backwire. You don't just stab and release it. It's not spring made. So this is a really high quality outlet. It's also, this one's tamper resistant. That's what that little TR means, which means it has doors in it. Those are actually required where I live. And I just think it's worthwhile to spend that extra buck or two on a really high quality outlet. It's much easier to install, much easier to maintain, and just a higher quality thing. I mostly use smart switches in my house. So along those lines, this is a Lutron smart switch, Lutron Casita. And that's really the only brand to buy. I have tried other brands, and the Lutron just is bulletproof. So I almost always have one of these in my bag. Other things in here, this little toolkit, which I got from Harbor Freight, it's Hercules brand, has a spot for a tape measure, which is quite nice. And this is just probably one that somebody left here. And then over here, I have these little containers, and there's actually 5 here, right down there. In the bottom, here, let's take this out of the way. Down here in the bottom is a container, and this is mostly screws that I've pulled off of other electrical appliances. So it is outlet cover screws and outlet mounting screws, a couple other like random sheetrock screws and things in there. But like when you need that extra screw, it's great to have these, and this is just it's an old electrical tape container, and it's an easy way to carry those. The other thing I carry staples, and I put them in a smaller container so that they take up less room and they're easier to sort of balance on top of a ladder. I almost always use insulated staples like these. And these containers are from gummy supplements or whatever, so I can have a lot of them kicking around. What else do we have here? I have a bunch of knockout covers. The reason I have all these knockout covers is because I bought a couple of them and then I kept them in the packaging and they got buried at the bottom of my bag. And then I said, oh, I need more knockout covers. I don't seem to have any. And I bought a couple more and they got buried in the bottom of my bag. And I kept buying them and buying them and buying them. And finally wound up with way more than I need. I like using big metal boxes for junction boxes. And that's why I need these metal knockout covers, even though most electrical boxes are plastic these days. I might have an example here to show you. Let's see, I might have one right up here. Yeah, here's a good example, right? Like that's a big metal junction box. It just gives me a lot of room to work, and I just find that they're really useful. Nice, keeps it tidy. I can put a lot of stuff in there, and I don't have to worry about running out of room. So, and then the other 2 things here are actually labels. These are zip tie labels, and I use white for 15 amp, and I use yellow for 20 amp to correspond with the wires. And the reason why I carry those is I am working in a very old house, and tracing circuits can be complex. So when I trace a wire and I know what it is, I will label it with the circuit number on each of these tabs. So you can see there's like a place to write a circuit number, and I'll write that circuit number and tie it to the wire, and that that helps me along the way. What else do I have here in the middle? I have a little pry bar tool, very handy, and a level. stud finder. I don't use it much, but I don't know, it fits nicely in this pocket. Couple electrical boxes, one deco and one traditional covers. A whole bunch of short, stubby things for pigtailing. And the way I usually do this is I usually just keep 15 amp ones in here, and then if I have a couple short sections of 20 amp or 12.2, I'll stick them in there with the sheathing still on them, so I can tell them apart. What I also have in here are some ground cables. These are nice that they come as pigtailed ground cables already. And that's for those metal boxes I just mentioned. And then a whole bunch of zip ties. You know, zip ties are just handy for ganging wires together. Okay. Um, I leave these tied on here in case I forget my ear protection. So that's the whole inside and the core. And this is basically what faces me when I'm doing an electrical job. Um, so let's talk about the ends of this bag. This end is pretty simple. I've got electrical tape, and I carry just a few different colors here. And then below it, if you can see it, are a whole bunch of stress relief connectors. And I'll dig some of those out so you can see. So it's a mix of plastic and metal stress relief connectors because I use a mixture of boxes. In this side, I do have this, which I actually don't need to carry anymore because my screwdriver does it. And then a mix of wire nuts, yellow and red for, multiple sizes that I need to carry. Okay. So this end's pretty straightforward. And again, this is the sort of end that I would frequently use and would be turned toward me. So, this side and this okay? Which means that the far side on both sides are really the special things. And let's talk about those. Like, things that I hope I don't need or hope I don't have to use. I have some Wago connectors in here. I've never actually used them, but I think they might be good in a pinch. Um, Needle nose pliers that can just be really quite handy. I also have these other kinds of Romex sheathing removal tools that you can sort of stick into a box and then strip out a connector. This one is actually quite effective. It has a 12-2 side and a 14-2 side. Let's see if I can get a close up on that. So you can see how it strips the wires, and it does also have 12 and 14 gauge strippers on the sides, but it's just sort of bulky and it sticks out in the bag. So I keep it on this side. I don't use it very much at all. I typically strip Romex by using a knife. In the middle here, you have a box that's a little too small, or I'm trying to replace a box with an old work box. I got a chisel. It's another good reason for carrying a hammer in the bag. And I've got a keyhole saw. And this little dealio is just a really handy device. Actually, just replaced the blade, but they last a good long time. It's like $10. Fits right in here. Great to have. Great to have. And then in here, an assortment of drill bits. These are sort of old mismatched bits that don't go with my core set. And then there's a little pick here and a little tiny little drill screwdriver, and then a bunch of writing utensils. So pencil, black marker, thick silver marker, black marker, all very handy for the work. And then last but not least, on this side, I have tools that I don't use often, but wow, they are good to have when I do. On this side is a circuit finder tool. And you plug this into whatever outlet you're trying to find, and you bring this down to the circuit breaker box, and it scans for a signal sent by this. If you don't have an outlet, I carry in this what I would need to convert a light bulb into an outlet. And I also carry one of these just because it can be really handy if I'm in a spot like a crawl space or something that doesn't have an outlet and I need to plug something in. So that's refining circuits. And then over here, I have my actual tester, which I don't really need that much because I never make mistakes, and it works great. And then I have some other adapters for latching the testers or the circuit finder onto bare wires. So I can use these alligator clips to clip onto a bare wire in a box and then plug the tester into it and trace a circuit that way. Let's see if there's anything else in here. This might just be handy stuff down here. Oh yeah, three-way adapter and a two-prong adapter. That's pretty useless these days. But what this is handy for is if I'm unplugging something to work on an outlet, and let's say there was an air conditioner plugged into it, into the outlet I want to work on, and I still want to run the air conditioner or the fan while I'm working, I can carry this over to another outlet on a different circuit and plug everything back in and still stay cool while I'm working. So there you go. That's my electrical kit, and it works pretty well. And I actually quite like this bag from Hercules to carry it all. I like that all my core tools are essentially on one side, and there's still plenty of room in here that if I want to throw in a spool of wire or a couple of electrical boxes or even a fixture that I'm installing, I have room to do that because this is mostly empty inside here. And that's it. I thought you might enjoy that and find it helpful. And that's it. I hope that helps.